I was wearing this half mermaid, half sea urchin outfit, and I had a crown of flowers on my head, and I had painted these blue and green and white scales on my face. And Grateful Dead was on stereo, and my friends were hanging out in my living room. However, I was in my bathroom on my elbows and knees with my bare ass in the air, squeezing an enema full of drugs into my anus. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, Joni, I hope this is worth it. Now, if you had told me 10 years ago that I'd be pulling shit like this, I would have been scandalized, okay? But the first domino was really pushed over in 2009. So it was the summer before my second year of graduate school, and I was going through a devastating breakup. I was living in Ocean Beach in San Diego at the time, where I had just moved the year before, and I still didn't know a lot of people. But somehow, in the throes of my despair, I met this really cool group of girls who introduced me into the San Diego hippie music scene. Jam bands, funk, bluegrass. All of a sudden, I was going out to shows all the time, getting drunk, making out with strangers, but above all, dancing all night with my new friend family. And, Melly, she was a singer with a raspy voice in an all-girl band. And Stacy was this artist who once organized us all into a Candyland float for the Ocean Beach Christmas parade. And Leslie had a 7-year-old son who, and somehow she managed to stay out all night with us and then go be like the best mom ever at an 8 a.m. t-ball game. And my new friends introduced me to music culture and a new community. They also taught me how to party. So I had tried psychedelics a couple times previously, and I had tried MDMA once in college, but they showed me the beauty of pairing these molecules with music. And for those of you maybe living a little bit more of an innocent lifestyle, MDMA, Molly, ecstasy, they all have the same active ingredient, which opens up the floodgates of serotonin in your brain until it flows out in rivers and makes you feel euphoric. And these new ways of altering my consciousness, they changed me. They changed the way that I understood music and my relationship to it. They made me feel more connected to my friends, to the world. They made me feel so much love. They showed me just a rainbow of colors that I'd never seen before. And in fact, one of my favorite memories was of being at our local beach club in San Diego, and we were seeing this New Orleans funk band, Orgone, and I was on the dance floor just surrounded by my girlfriends, and I was on Molly, and for once I was just living in the moment, and I was allowing this warmth to creep from my neck all the way down my arms. And I was letting the music flow into me, not just through my ears, but through my muscles and my skin and my heart. And I was just realizing that there's so much light in the world. And I hugged my friends and I looked them in the eyes and I would just say, "You're so beautiful." And I know you probably don't hear this much, but drugs and alcohol were part of my healing process. Now, 4 or 5 years later, I had moved to the Bay Area, and I was in the middle of a starkly different reality. I had been diagnosed with 2 different autoimmune diseases, and I was dealing with rampant inflammation in my digestive system and other organs. And I remember the moment that I realized that my life was gonna change. I was in the office of this naturopath who I'd gone to out of desperation when an army of NDs had failed me. And she did not have a nurturing bedside manner, and she didn't sugarcoat it. She said, you need to get off anything processed, gluten, soy, dairy, and alcohol. And I'll never forget the rage that welled up inside of me at her. Like, I hated her for saying these things to me. Like, how dare she ruin my life like this? And eventually, in my quest to get well, I quit all sorts of foods and substances. I mean, sugar, junk food, coffee, Molly, cocaine, mostly. Chocolate. I mean, you name it, and I quit it. And my doctors also put me on this whole host of pharmaceuticals, okay? An immunosuppressant to make sure my immune system didn't attack itself. An antidepressant, which apparently also treat nerve pain. I guess pain is pain. And rounds of steroids. And, let me tell you, I was so depressed and angry. It wasn't fucking fair that I had to watch everybody else get drunk and high while I was sober and I still felt like shit. They got to, use alcohol to forget their problems and blast off into chemically induced happiness. For me, there was no escape. There was just relentless reality, all sharp corners and rigid lines. Now, there were times when I felt okay, and so I would go out and see friends, and there were times when I was in pain and I would pull completely out of social life, and it sucked because I had just moved here and I had met so many people that I wanted to be friends with, but a lot of times I just stayed home, and that aspect was the worst part because I'm so social and outgoing and I need people. But I also just missed drugs and alcohol. I missed the way they made me feel confident and funny and pretty and connected. I missed their soft touches and those blurry edges. So one day in March 2016, I'm on a road trip back home from Santa Barbara, where I had just seen one of my favorite bands, the String Cheese Incident. And I was driving, and my friend Whitney was in the passenger seat, and she's just like cracking me up, okay? And she was like, oh my God, I have to tell you this story. Last night at the after party, I walked in on this guy blowing cocaine into this chick's ass using a straw. Isn't that disgusting? And that's how I learned about boofing, which is what it is called when you put drugs up your butthole. And got me to thinking. So I wasn't supposed to take all of these different substances because I wasn't supposed to digest them. But what if I didn't have to digest them? What if I could just put them right up the old anal cavity? So a couple weeks later, some friends and I were going to this all-night, under-the-sea themed Burning Man party. And I decided this was it. I was gonna take a sharp right turn because, let me tell you, I don't put drugs up my anus. Like, I'm from the Midwest. I had a very wholesome upbringing. And in fact, I was like scared, okay? But I decided, fuck it. I wanted to get high. I wanted out of the inside of my miserable brain. I wanted to feel happy and sexy and warm. So I was gonna boof a big hit of Molly. So I'm like strategizing here, okay? I'm like, okay, I don't want to put the powder directly into my anus. Like, that just seems dangerous for my delicate mucous membranes. So I decided the healthier, more adult option would be to dilute it, like in an enema. So, well, I had like 10 people in my small apartment. I put this hit of Molly into a squeezable enema, shake it up, and go to the bathroom. And I should kind of reiterate here that this was kind of a new group of friends, okay? Like, if I had been with like my best friends, I would have just been like, hey, I'm gonna put drugs on my butt, and like laughed about it. But I didn't know these guys well enough at the time to tell them, and they also didn't really know that anything was wrong with me. So I was kind of pretending with them. Now, raise your hand if you've ever done an enema. Okay, nice. That's like, some people are with me here, at least. So, for those of you that are unfamiliar, a squeezable enema looks like a douche, but with a thinner insertion tube. But both of them are both basically plastic bags that you squeeze into your body. So I get in the bathroom, take a deep breath, hearing the laughter of my friends outside the door. And I proceed to crouch on the linoleum, on my elbows and knees, naked ass, high in the air, and I insert the lubricated tip. And then I slowly, because you have to go slow, squeezed the enema into my poor, unsuspecting butthole. And, you know, then it was in. And here we are full circle. And when you have water in your rectum, it doesn't necessarily hurt, but like it's not comfortable. Like it kind of feels like somebody put a balloon up there and then blew it up. Like you don't want to make any sudden moves. So it didn't occur to me until that point that, well, the point of an enema is to make you poop. So I immediately had to take a crap, and a big one, okay? Like completely cleaned out my intestines. And, you know, I had no window in my bathroom, I had no air freshener, I had no matches, like, I had to emerge from my bathroom in a cloud of crap fumes, just filling the apartment. And I was bright red, just trying to act like, oh, nothing smells bad, like, I'm not sweating. I hadn't just spent the last 10 minutes in there just crapping my brains out. And, you know, on top of that, there was no way I was gonna get high off that dose because it had only been in there for 15 seconds. So I was gonna have to do it again. So I decide, I'm like, okay, I cannot do this again in my apartment. So I grabbed some more supplies to take with me to the party. So we get to the party and I go right to the bathroom. And I walk in and realize it is not a private bathroom. It's a public bathroom with stalls and dividers that go down to the knees. And I'm just like, God damn it, Joni, are you really gonna do this in here? But I already know the answer. And honestly, at this point, I'm feeling a little dangerous. Like, I'm so daring. Like, what can I get away with? Like, I'm gonna have sex in that stall. except it's gonna be with a little plastic tube. So I wait for the handicap stall to become available, go in, assume the position, and boof another enema, hoping that the women in line don't look under the divider and catch the show. Now, this time my colon was pretty clean, so I didn't have to crap right away. And the internet said that I should keep it in for 20 minutes in order for it to absorb. So it didn't occur to me until that moment because honestly, as you're probably starting to pick up on, I literally never think anything through. But like, what was I gonna do for the next 20 minutes? Like, I couldn't stay in that stall. There was all these women in line. But it seemed like a bad idea to leave the bathroom with several ounces of water and drugs in my ass. But there just weren't a lot of good options at that point. So eventually, politeness won. And I left the safety of the bathroom just clenching my butt cheeks together. And I go out to the party and I see my friends, Gary and Naveed. They're this like adorable chiropractor couple. And they try to get me to dance, but that just seems like asking for trouble. So I join a few of my friends on some pillows sitting on the floor. And we're talking and hanging out, and I wait 20 minutes and nothing happens. I wait 30 minutes and nothing happens. And eventually, I don't know how we got in this, I didn't bring it up, but we got on the topic of antidepressants. And my friend Jill, without realizing the bomb that she's about to drop on me, she says, well, you know, if you're on antidepressants, you can't get high on Molly. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, I mean, the whole job of antidepressants is to hold your serotonin steady. And when I heard that, I just sort of, my whole body just like drooped into this like puddle of defeat. Because I realized why I wasn't high. You might remember that I was on antidepressants. So I had been sticking drugs up my ass all night for nothing. And so then I went back to the bathroom and emptied my anal cavity, crying as the enema gushed out. I had just, for 1 second, wanted to feel like everybody else, part of my world, just to feel giddy and blissed out. Instead, what I got was the proverbial moment of truth. This realization that my path was just different than it used to be, different from my friends, and the universe was pushing me towards something else. And I had been resisting it for so long and so hard, but in that moment, sitting on the toilet with my head in my hands, I realized that I needed to lean into it. And, you know, instead of pushing away and trying to simulate my old life, I needed to figure out how to find peace in the life I was actually living. Thank you.